Hi, this is the second video in the playlist where we're looking at the higher paper, and it's the November 2017 Edexcel paper 2. Okay, in the previous video we completed through to question number 7, so we're going to start again from question number 8 onwards. Please do stop the video, have a go at each of the questions and then compare your solutions. I'm going to aim to make this video around about 20 to 30 minutes in length. That should give you about an hour's worth of fairly focused revision. Okay, so let's move on then with question number 8, which is a calculator question, and all they're asking us to do is to plug some numbers into a calculator and then hopefully come up with a solution. So on this particular one you should get a solution of around about 2.75603,957, and then it says write your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Well, the second decimal place is a 5. It's followed by a 6, so therefore we're going to round that 5 up to 2.76, and that would be to 2 decimal places. Okay, hopefully that's okay for you. Let's have a look then at question number 9. So a bit of a wordy one. So yesterday it took 5 cleaners 4.5 hours to clean all the rooms in a hotel. Okay, so that's the first bit of the paper, or the question rather. So it's important really to take these sorts of questions a little bit at a time. So what I'd be interested in finding out is if it took 5 cleaners 4.5 hours to clean all the rooms, then how much is the total job for one person? So I'd be interested in finding out the total job time. Now notice at the moment I haven't read the rest of the question. I'm just focusing on that one line. So the total job time is going to be 5 times, now it's 4.5. Now you might find this, or you might do this very differently to me, but what I do is I'm going to change that to an improper fraction, which is 9/2. Okay, now 5 times 9/2 is going to be 45/2. Okay, and that's going to be therefore 22.5 hours, and that's for one person to do this job in its entirety. Okay, then it says there are only 3 cleaners. Well, if there's only 3 cleaners, okay, then, and we've got 22.5 hours worth of work to do, then each cleaner, so for 3 cleaners, okay, it's going to be 3 divided into 22.5. okay, so that means that each cleaner is going to have to work for 7.5 hours, 7.5 hours. Okay, and then each cleaner is paid £8.20 for each hour, and importantly here, part of an hour they work. Okay, because this 7.5 hours means that actually they're going to be paid for 8 hours. Okay, this is a 3-mark question, probably at this point, and if you do the calculation at 7.5, you would get 2 marks for it. But it's just a matter always of going back to the text for these things and just checking that you remember, or you see that it's 8 times £8.20, so that's going to be £65.60. So each cleaner will be paid £65.60 for 8 hours worth of work. Okay, hope that's all right for you. Let's move on then to question number 10. Please do stop the video, have a go at this particular question, and then compare your solution. So distance time graph for a car's journey. Between which 2 times does the car travel at its greatest speed? Okay, well, the greatest speed, okay, is going to be the greatest, if I put greatest speed, is going to be the greatest distance, distance divided by the shortest time. Okay, and that's what I'm interested in. So basically, if we look at the first part of the journey here, then he's only taken 20 seconds, but in that time he or she has achieved 360 meters. Okay, yeah, that's right, I think 360 meters. Okay, so it's going to be 360 over 20. Okay, so that would be then the first part of the journey. So first part of the journey. Okay, and that would answer this particular question. But then it actually asks you in part B to work out that particular speed. So all we're going to do is we're going to divide 360 by 20. Again, you can use your calculator. It is a calculator question if you want. For me personally, I would just write it as 360 over 20. Knock off the zeros by dividing top and bottom by 10, and then divide through. That's going to give me 18 meters per second, and that would be the answer to this particular question. Okay, let's move on then to some pie charts. And the important thing with the pie charts is this one line. This is question number 11. This is one little bit in here. It says diagrams are accurately drawn. Okay, so we can have some confidence that the radius and the diameter and the angles of each of these sectors are absolutely accurate. Okay, we might need that information. Now, it's a little bit of a difficult one because I'm going to be maybe moving backwards and forwards between the two sheets of paper, but hopefully you'll be able to follow my working, particularly if you have had a go at this particular question. So let's have a look at the text of the question itself, and it says the ratio of the number of people living in Adley to the number of people living in Bridgeford is given by the ratio of the areas of the pie charts. Okay, well, again, like the other word problem that we did before, I'm going to kind of ignore the rest of the question. I'm just going to concentrate on this first line, or this first sentence. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have a look at the areas. Okay, so the area, okay, now Adley, okay, now I worked it out that actually if I'm working out the area of Adley, it would be the pi r squared, and I had a radius of 5. Okay, now I remeasured it and it came out at about 4.9, but I think because this is essentially a photocopied piece of paper rather than a printed, I think there should be a bit of leeway on this. So I would imagine this would be absolutely fine if you measured it at 5. Okay, that's going to give you an area for Adley of 25 pi. Okay, so let's have a look at the area of Bridgeford. Okay, now remember at this point, I haven't looked really at the rest of the question. I'm only focusing on the information that I've got in the first line. So that's going to be, again, a radius of 4. So that would mean then that I had 16 pi for Bridgeford as a total area. Okay, for Bridgeford. So the total for the two is going to be this plus this, which is 41 pi. Okay. Then it says, what proportion of the total number of people living in these two towns live in Adley and are aged 0 to 19? All right. Okay, so let's have a look at what happens in Adley. Okay, so if I go back to the actual diagram itself, I've got my 0 to 19 in this sector here. So if I measure that using a protractor, I had that at 70 degrees. And I think that's fairly reasonable. You might measure it at 69 or 71, but essentially it's 70 degrees, I think, as an angle there. Okay, and obviously in the exam they will give you some leeway. So let's go back to the question itself. And we've got then that Adley is 0 to 19. So the Adley 0 to 19 people. And that's going to be equal to 70 out of 360 degrees. Okay, and that's the actual proportion of the full pie chart, the full circle. And that's of the area, which is 25 pi. Okay, so if I now calculate that, I can calculate that, and I'm just going to leave it as 175 over 36 pi. Okay, you might prefer to just use the decimal equivalent, that's perfectly fine. It's not a problem at all. However, I tend to make my calculator work a little bit, so I'm kind of going to leave it at that, because the next part of the calculation then is going to be work out the proportion of the total number of people living in the whole, both towns that live in Adley and are aged 0 to 19. So these are the people that live in Adley, and we need to get this out of the 41 pi that we had as the total amount. Okay, so really what we're asking the calculator to do is to work out the proportion, and that's the number of people who are 0 to 19 in Adley out of the whole amount. Okay, so that looks a little bit confusing, a little bit tricky for a calculator to deal with, but it will do. Just use the fraction keys to be able to work that out for you, or you could prefer to just go down the decimal route, but either way, hopefully you'll come out with something like 0.11856, something like that. Okay, and then the question asks you to give the answer correct to 3 significant figures. Well, rather than leaving it as a decimal, I'm going to change it to a percentage, and that would give me 11.9%. Okay, hopefully you've been able to follow that one. It is over 2 pages, so it is a little bit tricky to kind of work through, but hopefully you should be okay. All right, let's move on then to working with polygons. Okay, and it asks us to have a look at this and then work out the size of angle STR. Okay, STR. So that's actually STR. That's that angle there. Okay, so I'll call that X. Okay, but what it does tell us is that RS and ST are 2 sides of a regular 12-sided polygon. Okay, well, again, in the true traditions of these kind of word problems, okay, I'm going to stop there, because knowing that bit of information, I can actually work out then the external angle of the polygon. If I can do that, I can then work out the internal angle, which is actually going to be this angle here. So with a 12-sided polygon, or with any regular polygon, regular shape, all the external angles, so if I look at the external angle here, all of those added together will equal 360 degrees, and we're told that there's 12 of them. So the external angle, okay, and I'll just call it, if I call it Y, external angle Y equals 360 divided by 12, so that's going to be 30 degrees. So what I do know now is the value of Y, which is this angle here, is 30 degrees, which allows me then to work out the internal angle, because this is a straight line. Okay, and in a straight line all the angles add up to 180 degrees, so to work out this I'm going to take the value of 30 away from 180 degrees, which means that angle RS, what should we call it, RST, okay, is going to be 180 degrees minus 30 degrees, which equals 150 degrees. So now we know this is 150 degrees. Okay, well, it's a regular polygon, and we're told that RS equals ST. So actually what they mean by that is that this shape now is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so I can actually draw this out if I wanted to, something like that. Okay, where this top angle is 150 degrees. Okay, and what we're being asked to do is to work out this angle, which is actually this one over here. Okay, so in an isosceles triangle, base angles are equal. Okay, base angles are equal. Sorry about my dreadful writing. Okay, but it means then I can work out that the combined of these two angles is 30 degrees. Okay, 30 divided by 2 equals 15 degrees. And actually that is the answer to this particular question. The angle STR equals 15 degrees, okay, which is this angle here or this angle here. Okay, hopefully that's okay for you and you've been able to follow that fairly well. We're about 15 minutes into the video. Please do stop the next question, have a go at it, and then compare your solution. So question number 13, we've got I think it's probably going to be something to do with compound interest, okay? And there is a formula for compound interest that we can actually use. And the formula is where we say that it's going to be the initial amount, which in this particular case is £50,000, multiplied by the multiplier. Now we've got a 2% compound interest effectively, so we're going to be using that to the value of n, which is the number of years. Okay, so at the beginning of 2009, Mr. Veal bought a company, value of which was £50,000. Okay, that's the initial amount, £50,000. Okay, multiplied by the multiplier. Now the multiplier is at the moment in a percentage, so I need to change that to a decimal form, but bearing in mind that it means that the multiplier is actually 102%, because 100% of the company stays and then it grows 2% year on year. So the multiplier is 1.02, and the difference between 2017 and 2009 is 8 years. Okay, so that's going to be the number of years. If I put that in a calculator, I'm going to get 58,582 pounds and 97p. Okay, so correct, the nearest £100 is going to be 58,600, and that would be the answer to this question. Okay, so let's move on to part B. Okay, so part B, at the beginning of 2009, the value of a different company was that. In 6 years, the value of this company increased to that. This is the equivalent. So basically what we're looking at here really is using the same formula that we did in part 1, but we're just going to do a little bit of guesswork. Okay, so we're told that at the beginning of 2009, the value of the company, the initial value was 2,500. Okay, sorry, 250,000. Quite different. Okay, and in 6 years, the value of the company had increased to 325,000. Okay, so in 6 years, times, if you like, the multiplier to the value of 6, and it had grown to 325,000. Okay, now a little bit tricky on this one, because what I can do is I can say, well, actually this multiplier I need to isolate and I need to find out what this value is. So really what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this information and then I'm going to make the multiplier, if you like, the subject of the particular formula. Okay, so if I bring over the 250,000 and divide through both sides, I'm going to get 325,000 divided by 250,000, and that's the multiplier to the value of 6. I'm just going to write m to the value of 6. Okay, so if I want to know the actual multiplier, it's going to be the 6th root. Okay, and unfortunately my calculator can do that. It's just one of the shift keys, I think, next to the cube root, but one of the shift keys. Okay, so the 6th root of this is going to give me my m value, or my multiplier value. Okay, and that's going to be m. All right, pop that in a calculator and I'm going to end up with 1.044695. Okay, now remember that this is the decimal equivalent. If you go back to part A, remember that this is the decimal equivalent. If I just pull that sheet of paper down a little bit, we had before a 2% increase, okay, and that is the same as saying 102%. Okay, so if we go back here, what we've got here is 104 0.5%. Okay, if I move the decimal point 2 places, I'm going to get, if I multiply it by 100, it's 104.469%. Okay, so that means the multiplier to two significant figures is going to be 4.5%. Okay, 4.469 is the same as saying 4.5% as the actual multiplier. Okay, bit tricky. Very tricky, that particular one. Okay, particularly that last little bit. Okay, let's move on then to question number 14. And this is going to be probably the last question in this particular video. And that hopefully has given you enough time then to be able to do a little bit of revision and work through these things. Okay, we've been asked to write or to draw a region that satisfies all these inequalities. Well, in order to draw the region, what we've got to do is firstly really draw the actual lines. So the first one is where we've got y is greater than 1. Well, the line where y equals 1 is this line along here. Okay, this is where y equals 1. Okay, so in other words, where the values are greater than 1 is going to be above this line. Okay, so the first part of that is relatively straightforward. Okay, the second part of it, we really do need to rearrange a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move the paper down and I'm going to just draw a little grid here. And I'm going to say, well, actually, I need the values of x plus y when they are equal to 5. That's the first thing that I need to do. So I'm going to change that to y equals 5 minus x, because it makes the rearranging, or you need to rearrange it, and it makes it the calculations a little bit easier. Then I've got values of x, okay, and the ones I'm going to choose, I'm just going to choose something like -4, -2, 0, 2 and 4. Okay, and then if I pop the values of x into this equation, I can get the values of y, but do be careful because we've got negatives to deal with. So when x is -4, this becomes 5 minus -4. Well, two minuses together are going to make a plus, so the value of y is going to be 9. Okay, it's a similar situation with this. 5 minus -2 means that this is going to be 7. Then it gets a little bit easier. Okay, and the value of x is 0. 5 minus 0 is going to be 5. Okay, 5 minus 2 is going to be 3, and 5 minus 4 is going to be 1. Okay, so that allows me to plot the coordinates for that particular line. Okay, and I can do exactly the same with the next one, which is y equals 2x. Now, fortunately, things are a little bit easier now because it's actually presented to me in a way that I can just work out some values. You don't have to do them all. Okay, I tend to just do, one or two of the negative values and one or two of the positive values, and I always do 0 because it makes my life a little bit easier. So 2 times -2 is -4, 2 times nothing is nothing, 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so what I've got now is x and y coordinates for each of these lines. One is that one, and then the other one is that one, and I can actually go ahead and plot these directly onto my grid, and hopefully that will give me the region. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plot the lines of x plus y equals 5, which was the first one that I actually created the grid for. Now, unfortunately, I haven't got -4, 9. Okay, but what I have got is -2. No, I've got -2 and 7. I've got 0 and 5. Okay, there it is. Okay, I've got also 2 and 3. Okay, and then I've got 4 and 1. Now, you only really need 3 points anyway to draw a fairly straight line. You just don't need, I know I calculated those other ones, but I don't need them at all. I'm just going to put that in here. Hopefully you'll be able to see this on the video, that I'm just going to join at those dots, and that is the line of x plus y equals 5. Okay, right, so the next one is y is equal to 2x. Okay, well, I've got 0, 0, so I know it goes through 0, 0. Okay, I've also got minus 2, minus 4, that's fine. I've also got 2, 4. Okay, I'm obviously doing a little bit better on this one, and I've got 4, 8. Can't do that one, but I've got enough dots there to be able to now just draw my line in. Okay, now you'll notice also that I'm running the line off or using the whole value of the grid because these are straight lines, so actually the values continue onwards pretty much forever, really. They don't actually stop. Okay, so now I've got y is equal to 2x. Okay, so I've plotted all of these lines, and what I need to do is figure out where the inequalities lie. Well, the first one was fairly easy because we're saying that the inequalities are greater than 1, okay? The values of y are greater than 1. So let's have a look at the values of x plus y are less than 5, okay? Well, if they are less than this line, it means that they're going to be below, okay? Same with y equals 2x, or y values are greater than 2x, they're actually going to be above this line. Now hopefully it's coming out okay on the video, but hopefully you'll be able to see that the region that they're looking for is actually this region here. Okay. Right, if you're not sure about what I've done with this particular type of question, if you go to the channel, have a look at the playlist. There are some playlists on dealing with inequalities with some further examples. Okay, so we are 26 minutes into the video. I think we'll stop there. That's taken us through to question number 14. We'll start in the next video from question number 15 anyway. Start from question number 15. I hope it's been useful to you. Please do add a comment below if you're not sure about anything, or have a look on the channel, and there are some playlists with quite a lot of examples of these types of questions. I look forward to seeing you inside the next video.